Okay, it is 2nd of October, 12:25 p.m. and I'm with Shae Morgon. Pronouns he, him.
Yes.
Who is a student at Edinburgh College on the Contemporary Art Practice HND, 2nd year. Hi, Shae.
Hi.
Can you tell us about your art practice and how you came to art?
So I've always been into art. But then high school art kind of threw me off of it, and that way of art just didn't fit with me at all. So I thought it just wasn't for me. It's only been in the past kind of 5 years really I've got back into it, and a lot of that started with my relationship with my mother-in-law, who's a retired art teacher, and who helped me kind of find that passion and that drive to get back into art and create. So yeah, my practice is, I'd say, very kind of politically charged.
Interesting. You're currently studying at the Contemporary Art Practice course at Edinburgh College. Can you talk about the highs and lows of the course so far?
The lows have all been around accessibility within the college as a whole. From not being able to get in the front door of the building independently, to lifts breaking, just finding challenges in existing in the space as a wheelchair user, and how the college as an institution values disabled students. The highs have been from the course, from the CAP course, and the lecturers and people within that, and being able to explore and refine my practice and who I am, and feel nurtured and valued in that setting.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that your disability informs your art?
Absolutely. Like, I've tried to deny it. I've tried not wanting to be, like a one-trick pony and, all I do is on disability. But I think I've come to accept that is where a lot of my practice goes, and that's because of my personal experience, my lived experience, and what I'm passionate about. And I think to deny that is just doing myself a disservice at this point.
Yeah, and it's also like your truth, I guess, in a sense, and it's important that is visible, I think. But were you trying to deny it because you felt you didn't want to be pigeonholed, and you didn't want to be, well, why would you try and deny that?
I think because I didn't just want to be seen as a disabled person producing art around disability, and I thought that I wouldn't, that it somehow made me less dynamic a person and stuff, rather than just accepting me myself. I wouldn't want to see art about disability from people who weren't disabled. I think.
Totally, of course. I think it really reminds me of that talk that we had from Andrew Gammon, that kind of internalized shame around disability, and internalized,
I think it's kind of feeling like nobody else wants to see it.
Like it's, yeah, they don't want to realize that that's like that the reality of it, I guess.
And I suppose it's always feeling like you're moaning as well, because there isn't a lot of positives to talk about. You know, the good accessibility moments are far outweighed by the bad accessibility moments. So talking about disability, and for me in particular, like access, becomes a lot about how there's barriers and obstacles to it, rather than how there is inclusion and accessibility.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Where do you see your art journey taking you after this?
The ideal is to become, you know, famous artist, you know, to be having my own exhibitions and stuff. But I think I'd be happy as long as I using my art to make noise about things and bringing issues to light. You know, the plan from CAP is obviously, well, not obviously, but for me to go to try and go to ECA to get my degree, but mainly just to keep creating and keep putting it out there, and just to make these things seem like any way necessary.
Can you tell us about your condition, how it impacts your daily life?
Yes, so I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a rare disorder of the connective tissue. So my collagen doesn't function like everyone else's. This affects the whole body, which means all my life I have had lots of dislocations, subluxations. It basically means my joints are held together with silly string, which makes it really unstable. But it also affects all my internal organs. They just don't function as well. It's a degenerative condition that, for me, has been greatly impacted by going through thyroid cancer in 2020.
How does it affect your daily life? Can you go through?
So obviously I use a wheelchair to get around. My energy levels are not the same as they used to be. I'm impacted a lot by constant pain and fatigue and having to pace my life, as well as having to balance what I want to do, such as going to college and doing my art, with hospital appointments, doctor appointments, dealing with injuries, illnesses, and just doing everything I do to manage my condition as well.
And I think that's it's important to note that there's like a mental toll within all that, as in like on top of everything you have your mental health as well to take care of, because that does sound like a lot of stress. Yeah,
it does impact my mental health a lot. In terms of, you know, you kind of have these moments where you've been getting on with things and it just piles up. And you have the days that you just can't face anything. You can't face going outside. You just can't face getting out of bed. Everything kind of consumes you a bit. But I think it is important to have those days and to recognise that it is a lot.
So, navigating the art world as a disabled person, I'm imagining that's not easy. Can you talk about some of the obstacles you've come across so far?
The main thing, again, is just physical access. So buildings that aren't accessible. mainly kind of places that aren't laid out in an accessible way.
Can you give us an example of somewhere you've been to recently where, well, can you actually give us an example of good accessibility and an example of bad accessibility, maybe in the context of Edinburgh?
Oh, absolutely. So I recently went to Andy Goldsworthy, 50 years at the RSA, and this is an example of great accessibility. Knowing that wheelchair users were consulted on the making of things like the skylight piece and the oak tree walkway thing. I noticed these, I was able to move through them and see them the same as everybody else did, and it wasn't made out to be a big thing. It was just seamless. In contrast, when I was at Doho Sa at Modern One, in the house thing that you're invited to walk through, I wasn't allowed to do that. My wheelchair was seen as too much of a risk and
to the artwork,
and so I wasn't allowed near it, which is obviously quite exclusionary. It means I don't get to see it the same as everyone else, and makes it very obvious that I'm not welcome in that space.
So is that how it feels when you're not allowed to experience an artwork an interactive artwork in the same way as other people? It feels like you're not welcome.
Yeah, it's just like having a big red tape across things that say, do not enter, kind of, but only for me.
There's so much talk in the art world about accessibility of artworks, but I don't think it's the same as what we're talking about now in terms of like accessibility, in terms of like physical accessibility within a space. Is that something that irks you a wee bit?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about, just having access to artworks and being able to see them, I don't think we're having a broad enough conversation about everyone being able to see them. Why are artworks hung at the heights that they are? Why is that the gallery standard? Why are we only catering and showing to a small group of people and not everyone?
No, totally. So you've had some fantastic support and achievements, life says. But I know you've had some fantastic achievements. I would be curious to know like the support as well. I know you will have had that, but can you talk about some of the positives of some of the positive aspects you've encountered in working within the art world? Or
I think I've had some really positive conversations with other disabled artists, and finding a community within that has been really nice. And now to be in a place where I do feel like I'm supported in my practice and kind of encouraged, whether that's, by my husband, my mother-in-law, the lecturers on the course. I feel, have all made me feel seen and as important as any other member of the class.
Have you found a sort of community within Edinburgh of disabled artists who are working? Have you been able to like connect with anyone?
I've spoke to a couple of other disabled artists. I think being integrated into like a community of them is something that I still struggle with personally. I think that comes as being someone who hasn't been, who I wouldn't have considered myself to be disabled all my life.
Yeah.
Although my condition I've had all my life, the nature of it being degenerative meant it only really started impacting me kind of maybe 10 years ago. So I think there's the internalized kind of ableism there, is feeling like I don't quite belong in disabled spaces. It's still, no, it's still something that I'm fighting with.
And I guess not everyone's disability is the same. Like, the disability is so complex and multifaceted, and like, you know, one person's might not encounter the same problems that you would in entering a gallery space or interacting with an artwork, but they would still be considered disabled. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is, and I kind of encountered these issues the first year I came to the college and studied on level 2, being put in an assisted class where it's kind of, to me, felt like you're seen as disabled, and that's it, all the disabled people get put in one class together. Although we can have similar circumstances, you know, experiences, we don't have the same.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what it's like being someone with a visual impairment or having hearing loss or something like that. I don't know what it's like to navigate the art world like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a very individual kind of experience. Although there is kind of a connection underneath, as a, you know, all of us kind of feel excluded in a certain way, although that doesn't
maybe
always look the same.
Yeah, exactly. How can systems and individuals be more inclusive in the art world?
I think it's just, in terms of inclusivity, just it becoming the normal. And I think we really need to start calling out inaccessibility, and not just by disabled people. I think more people need to make noise about this and make it known that it's not, you know, and it's 2025, it's not acceptable to exclude people from spaces, and make it the exception rather than the rule, and to have places leading the way more and making these changes, moving to more accessible venues, implementing more things, and just we need to lift up and really kind of push the places that are doing it right and make it known.
Look at them as an example.
Follow what they're doing, rather than just staying comfortable in the way things have always been,
and keeping the conversation alive, you know. And just because you've ticked one box per se, it doesn't mean you've ticked them all, and there's recognize there's still a lot of work to be done in making spaces fully accessible.
And I think it's important to have disabled people in these positions, you know. It's surprisingly rare to see disabled accessibility officers in places when these people are better placed and better qualified than anyone else to be helping, and the people are there, the willingness is there. Places just have to embrace it.
Totally. 100%. You've had your first solo show at Concrete Gallery called Indigo? Tell us about it.
So that was a great experience. So that opportunity came around from working with Andrew Brooks, and I worked with him. I met him through a project that he done a few years ago now called FND Stories, and so we just kind of kept in touch and kept the conversation going. And when I found out he had this space, concrete block gallery, I straight away started having ideas for this show, and how like I got quite excited by the idea of using a non-white cube space, and somewhere that...
So we should mention that the concrete block gallery is...
It's a garage.
Yeah.
It's a concrete garage. In Edinburgh, it's not a space that you'd...
In a residential neighbourhood as well, which is really odd, but it's so fascinating as well.
Yeah, and I think that's, I like the accessibility of that, from a point where you could just be walking down the street and just happen upon this art gallery. And it doesn't feel intimidating. It's not, this big prestigious building somewhere. It doesn't have any of that. No airs and graces. So I really like that, and working with that. It did. There was challenges around that, especially during the installation, and being able to manage that physically. But it really helped working with the gallery, who allowed me the time that I needed. So I was in for days beforehand, just small bits at a time, doing what I could, and then afterwards, having the time that I need to kind of take down, and knowing that, I was working with a space that wanted me there. They wanted to show my work.
That sounds like it was a really positive kind of experience.
Yeah, it was good.
Hopefully that will be the norm going from here on out for you.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have I hope everyone's like Andrew Brooks.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to Shae for sharing their work and experiences with us. You can follow their art journey at Shae Morgon Art, and follow at Contemporary Art, ETC, and Capture Blog for more interviews and art shenanigans.